Hello, welcome to Janus Corporation's Project Site Fire Safety Training. Fire safety is everyone's responsibility. All employees should know how to prevent and respond to fires and are responsible for adhering to company policy regarding fire emergencies. Supervisors are responsible for ensuring that employees receive appropriate fire safety training. This job site training is to be documented in Field Flow. Supervisors are also required to notify the operations manager when changes in operations increase the risk of fire. In case of fire, all employees must know the work area and building or facility escape routes. This information should be explained at every project site prior to the start of the project or when an employee is first assigned to a project that is already in progress. Remember, never use an elevator when exiting a building during a fire or other emergency. Always use the stairs. During a project, all employees should ensure that doors, hallways, stairs, and other exit routes are always kept free from obstructions. Remember, in the event of a fire while workers are inside containment, do not worry about exiting through the decon chamber. Take the most direct route to the fire exit, warning others as you go, even if that requires you to cut through containment walls or open doors sealed with tape and poly. Proceed to emergency rally location to assure others know you are no longer in the building. Most common fire hazards for Janus workers are electrical systems and temporary lighting. Electrical system failures and the misuse of electrical equipment are leading causes of workplace fires. Fires can result from loose ground connections, wiring with frayed insulation, overloaded fuses, circuits, motors, or outlets. Temporary lighting. In our asbestos work, one of the most common causes of fire is the quartz or halogen lights coming into contact with our poly sheeting. Temporary lighting can generate 500 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit of heat at the source, and even fire retardant poly ignites at that temperature. Poly will give off noxious fumes when melted or burned. Once fire safety has been assured, the fire has been put out and reignition prevented by you or others, leave the work area until the fumes from the poly have dissipated. The best fire safety policy is to prevent fires from starting in the first place. Everyone can help prevent fires following some simple rules. Use and store flammable materials in well-ventilated areas away from ignition sources. Keep equipment in good working order. Keep motors and tools dust and grease free. Inspect electrical tools and cords for damage every time they are used. Turn off electrical equipment when not in use. Unplug tools with electrical cords when not in use. Report all gas leaks immediately. Leave the area until gas leak is sealed off and gas in the air has dissipated. Clean up flammable liquid such as mastic removal fluid, spills, and leaks immediately. Keep temporary lighting, halogen or quartz, away from poly walls and floors. Assure temporary lighting cannot fall or be knocked over. Do not smoke on the job site. Report all potential fire hazards to your supervisor. In the event of a fire, call 911, and if the fire is not contained to a small area, such as a trash can fire, or it is burning building materials, pull the fire alarm. Even for a small fire, if building materials are involved, the fire department should be called to assure the fire is not spreading inside walls, attics, or basement areas. There are 4 things you must consider if you are going to try and put a fire out yourself. 1. Is the fire too big? If the fire involves flammable solvents, such as mastic removal fluid, has spread over more than 50 square feet, or is partially hidden behind a wall or ceiling, it's too large to fight on your own. Is the air safe to breathe? You must consider both the potential production of toxic gases from the materials being consumed by the fire and the potential for the fire to remove all of the oxygen from the space you're in. If either of these possibilities exist, leave the area as quickly as possible. Warn others as you go. 3. Is the environment too hot or smoky? If heat is easily felt on exposed skin, making it difficult to approach within 10 to 15 feet of the fire, you must crawl on the floor due to the heat or smoke is quickly filling the room, decreasing visibility. Leave the area as quickly as possible. Crawl if the room is filling with smoke. The oxygen will be near the floor. Wear your respirator as you exit the fire area. This will reduce the inhalation of ash and other particulate matter in the air. 4. Is there a safe evacuation plan? If there is not a clear evacuation path away from the fire, look for an exit rather than fighting a fire. Remember, small fires can grow quickly. It may be necessary to use your fire extinguisher to create an exit route if the flames are between you and the fire exit. Fire extinguishers are to be used to fight only small fires. A fire that can be handled effectively by a fire extinguisher is a fire that has just begun, is contained to a trash can or similar container, is of such size that poor visibility, smoke inhalation, and high temperatures have not reached a degree to where they threaten life, health, or safety. Remember, you also need to clear a path away from the fire in the event the fire extinguisher is not sufficient to put the fire out. Fire extinguishers contain one of 3 different fire suppressant materials, none of which are healthy for you to breathe. There are other types of fire extinguishers, but we're talking about the type you will typically find on Janus projects. Class A fire extinguishers are effective against fires involving paper, wood, textiles, and plastics. Class B fire extinguishers are effective against flammable liquid fires. These will be fires where cooking liquids, oil, gasoline, kerosene, or paint have become ignited. Class C extinguishers are for fires involving electrical equipment. Lucky for Janus employees, Janus supplies our projects with Class A, B, C fire extinguishers. These are extinguishers that contain material that is good at putting out all 3 types of fires. Use of a fire extinguisher. When using a fire extinguisher, you want to follow the PASS process. P, pull the pin at the top of the extinguisher. The pin releases a locking mechanism and will allow you to discharge the extinguisher. Tamper seal should be able to be removed by hand. A, aim at the base of the fire, not at the flames. This is important. In order to put out a fire, you have to extinguish the fuel, which is under the flames. S, squeeze the lever slowly. This will release the extinguishing agent in the extinguisher. If the handle is released, the discharge of the extinguishing agent will stop. S, again, sweep from side to side. After the fire is out, while you can use a fire extinguisher to clear a path past an area where flames are near, you do not want to try and put out a large fire with a fire extinguisher. Most fire extinguishers will discharge fire suppressant material for less than 30 seconds. If you do extinguish a small fire, don't immediately walk away once it's out. Watch the area for a few minutes in case the fire reignites. Report the fire to your supervisor. Your supervisor will inform other members of the project team and the local fire department if necessary. An incident report should be filled out with your supervisor. If injuries occurred, these will need to be noted. If no injuries occurred, a near-miss report may need to be filed. These reports are needed to help Janus avoid facing the same situation in the future. Lastly, once a fire extinguisher has been used, it must be recharged, even if it was not completely emptied of the fire suppressant material. Do not put a discharged fire extinguisher back on its hook on the wall or in its fire extinguisher box. On Janus projects, we should have a minimum of 1 fire extinguisher for every 3,000 square feet of work area, and there should be no more than 50 feet that a worker has to travel in order to reach a fire extinguisher. We should have at least 1 fire extinguisher on the outside of our containment as well as those required inside. Fire extinguishers should be checked for the proper charge before being distributed on a project and at least monthly if the project takes more than a month to complete. Fire extinguishers must be checked or serviced by a licensed or registered person at least annually. The best fire safety plan is to prevent fires before they happen. Prevention includes keeping a job site free of clutter, debris, and waste. If a fire requires you to leave your work area, you should warn others as you proceed to the emergency rally area where others can be. If the fire requires you to leave your work area, you should warn others as you proceed to the emergency rally area where others can be assured you are not in the building anymore. Containment poly can catch fire and release noxious fumes even though it is fire resistant. When using a fire extinguisher, use the PASS, P-A-S-S system. Pull the pin, aim at the base of the flames, squeeze the handle, sweep the extinguisher back and forth while aiming at the base of the flames. Report all fires to your supervisor, even those you are able to extinguish yourself. Thank you for taking Project Site Fire Safety. Training was produced by Michael C. Sharp, Janus Senior Safety Officer. Please proceed to the quiz.